Biggly Piggly Wiggly on Spring Street has served 3 generations of shoppers since 1955 as the largest locally owned independent grocery store in the area. The Joseph family owners grew up here, so you know they're invested in the community. They provide the biggest variety of choice meats, the freshest produce, an in-house deli bakery, great wine selection, and more of your favorite brands. Every purchase gives you gasoline points so you can save at our pumps. Order online for pickup at bigglypigglywiggly.com. Biggly Piggly Wiggly on Spring Street. No one beats the pig.
The opinions expressed on Scoop Squad Truth Pod are those of the hosts and the guests and not those of WVRC Media. The Scoop Squad Truth Pod, copyright 2024. Scoop Squad Truth Squad, LLC.
Welcome to the Scoop Squad Truth Pod. I'm your host, Ashley Switzer, and we are coming to you from Charleston, West Virginia, like we do every week. It is January the 20th. Well, you'll be listening to this on the 25th, but it's currently the 24th. It's a Wednesday. We're recording in the evening. I've got my executive producer, Ron Hughes, here in the studio. And we are a podcast kind of geared at rooting out corruption and
Finding transparency.
Advocating for transparency and accountability in your local and state government. That's what we like to do, isn't it, Ron?
That's right. And there's always a government somewhere that's less than transparent, less than accountable. It's not just Charleston, and it's not just Lincoln County, which we pick on. Occasionally we pick on Calhoun County. So we have two ladies who kind of shake things up in Calhoun County.
Yeah.
One of them is Sherry Johnson, who runs the Ridgeview News, a news organization in Calhoun County, and then Crystal Mersch, who is an entrepreneur, owns several international companies wanting to come to Calhoun County. She's a native, and she wants to come back to her hometown. But man,
she wants to pour a bunch of money into her hometown, and guess what? She's getting fought at every turn.
When you want to bring new ideas in, sometimes you shake, you ruffle a few feathers. So, ladies,
welcome back.
Welcome back.
Thank you.
So we're going to give you guys the first segment here. We got the 20-minute segment for you guys. And I don't know who wants to go first. I know Crystal has an issue with getting a federal grant and has seen some shady goings on with the process of getting some federal money to help the most impoverished county in the state.
Yeah, surprise,
Calhoun
surprise.
County.
Tell us about that, Crystal.
Yeah, so let's start with a little update, if that's okay.
Sure.
Because it's what I will say is I want to give words of encouragement to all those folks out there who are working on transparency, and also give them some positive news that there's a lot of hope on that front for people who are tenacious and willing to invest some time and blood, sweat, and tears into the process. So,
yep, I agree with you there.
Sherry has been working hard. She's had her business up now for over 2 years, and I've been back for just a little over 2 years, and we have really made huge strides in Calhoun County, and I'm sure Sherry will comment as well.
Well, it's no coincidence. The Scoop Squad Truth Pod will be 2 years old in March. Isn't that funny?
I know. That's great, right?
Yeah, that's right.
You guys did a lot of work with us in the beginning, and that also helped us get a lot of exposure and people asking the right questions and having a glimmer that things didn't have to be the way they had been for the past 4 decades.
There's always hope for change.
There's always hope, especially where West Virginians are involved.
That's right.
West Virginians are resilient. We are fighters. We are tenacious. And we also have one of the strongest, I would say, gut feelings for things that are wrong.
Yeah.
Than anybody I know on this planet.
I agree.
Now, we struggle because there are many folks out there who have other interests, and always at the bottom of those there seems to be pockets being lined. Mm-hmm. And once you can track the money and track
follow the money.
Follow the money. Once you can track that, and you can track the interest in power. The interest in power is always then connected to the money. That's at the bottom of the barrel. So I think we've done a really good job. The people in Calhoun County, and I would say our surrounding counties, are seeing the progress. the motto we're adopting this year is seeing is believing. Okay, so and
Love
I
that.
get that. When I came to town, people were very skeptical. They knew who I was. They knew who my parents were, who my grandparents were, my great-grandparents. But why is she back, and why is she saying that she wants to do this? Well, those were questions I asked myself, too, on occasion. But
Hey, Ron, we can't. Hold on just a second, Sherry. Ron, we can't hear your mic.
Okay. How about now?
Yeah.
Okay, so I turned down the wrong one.
Yeah.
So you basically tried to build a community center and do some other investing in the community and met with a lot of flack.
Oh, a lot of flack. A lot of flack. There was a lot of flack that really was born out of the Calhoun County Commission, and I would say Calhoun County government in general. And there's a big, like in most counties and across the country, there's a big political divide, and there was a lot of assumptions made about political motivations and.
So it was a traditionally a Democratic government, Democrat Party government forever and ever,
Correct.
just like most of West Virginia.
Correct. Yes, and Al, that's not the case. We've had about 10 major positions, boards, superintendents change over in the past 2 years. And one of the signs of change is when I call it the rats start jumping from the ship.
Yeah.
Right? So when that starts to happen, and you can time it after, when you make a comment that, it's time for an audit here or there.
Right. And people start
in a
saying,
few
bye-bye,
days,
I resign.
People here retire. They don't resign.
Well,
They
right.
retire.
Exactly.
And yeah, but they do show up later, it seems.
Right.
across the state.
Right. Somewhere else
Anyway,
in state government.
But what I am most impressed is with the people. So the people have learned that their voice matters. They've learned that their gut is telling them the truth and has been for many, many years. And they've learned that some of the people who they thought have been telling them the truth and that are still their friends maybe haven't been. And that's tough.
That is
right?
hard.
That is tough.
That's betrayal. That hurts.
It is, and it hurts. But we have to find a way to come back from that because, this is where we've all lived.
Yeah.
Right? Some of us have been here the whole time. Some of us have gone and come back, and and we are human and we all make mistakes.
Right.
So, I like the way I see things are going. That it's coming back together, and that we don't have to, corner off and be one corner this, one corner that, one corner.
You're getting things
something else.
done. It seems like things are happening.
We are getting things done. We are getting things done.
I invite our listeners to go onto your Facebook page,
1984 Foundation?
1984 Foundation, and look at the progress. I mean, there's a major swimming pool right in the middle of
a football field.
This high school, former high school, now turned into a community center, and it looks very modern. And it's coming together right as we speak.
Yeah, I love it. So, Cheryl, what's going on with the grants that you're trying to get? What kind of roadblocks are you hitting there?
So, well, the grant process in general is it's laborsome.
Yes.
Right? We're a small group. We're getting some really good support from a group of folks called West Virginia Grants. It's a combination of Marshall and West Virginia University working together to help organizations like ours get grants. But we'd really hoped that we would be farther down the track with the grant process. So we were hoping last year we would get the construction grants because we were shovel ready. We had significant match, so we didn't have any hurdles. We had huge grassroots movement support. We are one of 4 or 5 counties in the state that's been on the economic distress list for 40-plus years. We are a coal-impacted county. Even though we have never had coal mines, we're significantly coal-impacted because we had a lot of people who worked in the coal mines. But these grants are very competitive, as you know. I think the other thing that there's a couple things that really are working against us. One is these organizations aren't used to a project coming up this fast, and they're not used to them having match.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's a great problem for them.
That is a good problem to have.
You did everything
frankly,
right.
Yeah, you did everything
Yes,
right.
and
Now
it
you're getting punished.
Correct, and it wasn't for lack of communication, because I'm not a shy wallflower kind of gal. So we've talked to everybody all along the way.
Mm-hmm.
We had a lot of encouragement to apply for congressionally directed spending, which you've done 2 years now and have been turned down 2 years in a row. And we've also applied for the ARC Power Grant, which we will apply for again this year. We feel more confident about it now that we've got more experience. We did have Gail Manchin came out to our site, and she initiated that visit, so we was pleased to have her come visit. And hopefully, I think she really got a sense for the people and the surroundings, and that this project is going to go. Because I understand that concern, because at the end of the day, no matter what we're in as a business, whether it's business, government, nonprofit, we're all responsible for other people's money, right?
Right.
So they want to make sure that the money that they are supplying to any project is actually going to get traction and be successful.
Mm-hmm.
And when the best judgment of future is past history, and you can't say that Calhoun County and our surrounding counties have been hugely successful in economic turnarounds. But my plea is, please don't judge us by our past. Come see us, judge us by our future. Seeing is believing. We have one of the nicest swimming complexes in this state right now.
Yeah.
It's going to open up on Memorial Day.
Imagine that.
$1 million swimming pool.
Beth, did you hear that?
And
Calhoun County has one of the most state-of-the-art swimming complexes found in this state. Did you hear that, Adam?
I did. It sounds like they got a lot further and faster than the Capitol Sports Center.
Yeah.
Shocking.
And you know what? We were fought by the county for a piece of property that may have been worth $6,000. So, and actually probably one of my proudest moments, I would say my proudest moments, the children of Calhoun County said, wait, this woman, who my grandparents know and graduated with, wants to give us a swimming pool for, at that point in time, it was estimated $500,000. And these guys won't give up this piece of land that they haven't done anything with for 25 years. They knew that wasn't right. So we had 50-plus kids march on the courthouse with pool noodles and carrying signs saying, we are the future, and give us a swimming pool.
Oh, wow.
And, it's amazing. I love that photograph of them.
Yeah.
And all of those kids got swimming passes this coming season. For the whole
I love
season.
that.
Well,
Gosh, talk about, being a model and, empowering young people to take a stand and, be participants in their government. Wow.
That's a civics lesson
amazing.
right there.
That's huge.
Well, we've got about 7 minutes
should-
left. Can you kind of give us what your latest obstacle is that we need to try to get over? Help you get over to get your money.
Yes, we need funding. So, and people get a little confused because we had to fully fund the project, right, in order to get the tax credits that we've got.
Okay.
So we've done well with tax credits. Now we got to keep in mind those tax credits don't come back to tax credit investors until 6 years later, right? So we have a bridge loan that covers $3.9 million of that. So we're looking to be able to cover that construction cost as well as startup costs. So again, we will be applying for a congressionally directed spending dollars that will open up in the early part of the year.
Has
help
Calhoun
us.
County ever gotten any kind of money like that before in the past?
Not in that range.
Right.
So, for example, last year we applied for $2.1 million. We thought we were on the inside track in getting that, and then we do know that there was a $2.1 million award made to fund a library in Elkins, which, for me personally, I love libraries, but they're really not something that
future.
is part of the future.
Yeah.
Right. That's not the future.
And it's not transformative like this.
Right.
We're going to transform 7 counties into an economic hub that brings traffic, that brings tourism, and that changes people's lives. And
It's not
so
just
I
a
think
swimming
we're getting
pool,
the
too. It's a community center.
Yeah.
It's a whole community center. It's going to have, a live workspace. It's going to have an entrepreneur zone that's going to house a number of different artisans and retailers, that really we want to have somewhat like a Tamarack vibe that focuses on music and art and crafts and local foods. And we also want to take the foods into a distribution network, which we've been working on that. And so we've got all the plans in place.
Gosh, we have to set them up with Sunset Berry Farms. What do you think, Ron?
Yeah. I mean, they've been on before to talk about problems with.
Yeah, Mountaineer Food Bank.
Yeah.
They didn't have anywhere to take their food.
Yeah.
They're
we'd
not
love
too
to
far
talk to
away.
them. We'd love to talk to them.
We'll get you guys connected.
Perfect. We're also going to be applying again for some Appalachian Region Commission monies. We're working with the state right now and getting some really great cooperation with the state. We had never really approached the state because we thought we were going to start with the federal funding and then fill in around it with state monies, but we're getting great support now from folks at the state level. And so the way folks can really help us is write your senators and your congressmen and let them know about this project.
Okay.
Let them know.
And in your case, it's Carol Miller is the is that your congressperson?
Carol Miller, she is, and the 2 senators also get very involved in these earmark funds, and they're both highly aware of the project. So those are the types of things you can do.
So people just need to write them. Yeah.
Yeah, let them
Send
know.
an email.
And, don't count West Virginians out. Don't count any West Virginians out.
Right.
Right. Just because we're not in Huntington or we're not in Morgantown, we're made with the same.
Hey, I
fiber.
love getting behind an underdog, and that's just what you guys
me
are.
Too.
Right. And
That's
you guys,
the
I mean,
story of my life.
you're not depending on other people to make it happen. You're making it happen yourself.
Yeah.
That's right. It's very much a bootstraps. In fact, we have a bootstrap program where people get involved and are bringing about their own businesses.
Yeah.
We were number 3rd in the state.
Wow.
3rd in the state for new business startup this past year.
Calhoun County.
Jiminy Christmas.
And what's the
It's
population of
undeniable.
Calhoun? Is like 8,000 or
5,800.
5,800. So
5874.
Things
one
are
of the-
happening
one
in
of the lowest-
Calhoun County.
one of the lowest populated counties in the state.
Yeah.
Awesome. Hey, Crystal, thank you so much for that. And I'm going to do it. And I encourage all our Scoop Squad listeners out there to write a letter to or an email to Carol Miller, to Senator Capito and Manchin, and just, let them know that you are 100% behind this project happening in Calhoun County. I'm going to do it.
Yeah. Yeah, and there's always more going
That matters.
on.
That stuff they read that stuff matters.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
It does matter.
yeah. All right, Sherry, you got anything for us?
Well, no, I'm just, I do have some things to tell you, but I'm just pleased as punch with everything going on with Crystal, because I tell you, she has really brought the energy into Calhoun County.
Yeah.
And it's so funny that we all got started up at the same time. That's just that's
Isn't that funny? Isn't that a weird coincidence? I don't think it's a coincidence.
We have parties for ourselves every year.
Right. Well, I know you have trouble. You both have had trouble with the county commission on transparency and being cooperative. In fact, actually, it's not that they were uncooperative; they were just outright hostile to your efforts.
They were definitely outright
at the beginning,
hostile, and we still have one on there that's a little bit hostile. He's came down quite a bit.
Oh, it's Helmick, right?
Yes,
that's one of our distant relatives, by the way.
Yes.
So he's softened up a little bit.
Well, I won't say he's softened up a little bit, but he's mellowed out as far as his attacks in the meeting, because I think he realized that
wasn't working.
Well received.
Yeah.
Well, it wasn't well received by the community. And when Rich Hughes started going live with all of the meetings in the community, but it stopped it in its tracks for these people not having any accountability.
Yeah,
because all of a sudden we we were on there and we were holding them accountable.
Right.
And so, like last week, there's still some dirty politics going on. We have a county clerk that just, for me, she oversteps her bounds. She put some things on the agenda that she didn't even tell the county commission that she put on there.
Don't the commissioners have to direct that? Don't they have to direct things to be put on the agenda?
Yes, I would think that they would have to approve it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But one of the things that she put on the agenda was for the civil service, for a person to be on the civil service board, and it was a friend of hers that she convinced to apply for that position. Didn't notify the county commission that this was happening. The woman ended up. She had been the chairman of the Democratic Executive Committee, and because of that, one of our new commissioners, Roger Props, he looked up the West Virginia State Code and says, this cannot happen. This woman cannot hold this position. It wasn't put on the agenda right. He went clear through the law, showing that it was completely illegal for her to have this position. And that county commissioner, Helmick, still voted for it.
Oh,
of course,
goodness.
it was voted down by the other two. So they're still trying to connive and get people into positions for their own
nepotism. We're familiar with that here in Charleston, West Virginia, and Kanawha County.
Yeah, it's still
and you guys
still
are
going
doing
on
a great
regularly.
job uncovering it.
Yeah, speaking of that, we've got some stuff to talk about here when we come out back after the break. We're going to address some Kanawha County School Board issues. We're going to address some city issues and county issues happening right here in the capital city.
Yeah, we're going to have to let you go and take a break, but we're going to come back to you guys.
Thanks, girls.
And we want to keep up to date, keep the pressure on.
Yep. Good
All
work.
right, you guys keep up the great work.
Okay.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you, guys.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, we are going to come right back. We've got Beth Kearns in the house. She's got to go, so she doesn't have a whole lot of time. So I want to get her right after the break. We'll bring her on and let her kind of just pick her brain a little bit. We've got Adam Knopf in the studio. We've got Lisa Payne, who attended a public hearing or comment session at legislature today. So we've got all of that right after the break. We'll be right back.
The Scoop Squad Truth Pod would like to thank our sponsors. Those include Chris Walters at Integrity Insurance, featuring auto, home, life, business, workers' compensation, and pet insurance. Pet insurance, you say? That's health insurance for your dogs or cats that covers special foods, illnesses, surgeries, and medication. They're on 16 Capitol Street in Charleston at 346-9181, or reach them at www.iigwv.com. Also by Jody's Mobile Services, offering steam cleaning, pressure washing, fleet washing, and auto detailing. We come to you. They're at 304-437-3164. And also by Eggplant on Bridge Road. Anything but ordinary. Go to eggplantshop.com. Also by T-Graphics on the west side, 312 Buchanan Street, 345-4816. Go to tgraphics.com for screen printing and embroidery since 1984. Again at 345-4816.
Okay, so before we broke off, we encouraged everybody to write Carol Miller, write Senator's Mansion in Capito. Elisa, tell them how easy it is to do that.
All you have to do is just put Carol Miller, and it'll come up with her website. Go to her website. On the website, it'll say contact, send me an email, and literally you just fill in your name, your phone number, your zip code, so they can verify where your district is, and then you just fill in the information you want to send her right there and send it for all of them.
Dang! So I was getting on their government websites and okay. No. So go to their Facebook or go to not their Facebook, but their websites. Okay. That's good. That's a good tip. I'll use that as soon as I get home. Hey, Beth.
Hey.
Hey, Adam.
Hey. Thanks for having me.
Hey, nice to see you. I feel like I haven't seen you in forever.
No, not since last year, anyway.
Adam and I did have dinner because we never get to talk. I feel like we're just well, we don't get to talk at city council. And then last city council meeting, I was like, hey, does anybody want to go out and get something to eat? Because I don't have school tomorrow. I don't have to be there at the crack of dawn. Everybody was like, no, we're going home. So like,
Well, it's a long meeting. It was the mayor's state of the city
it was the
address.
state of the city.
The state of the boredom address.
And so, Beth, we tried to we grabbed Shannon after that because it just kind of dawned on me during the state of the city that
Shannon Snodgrass, is that right?
yes, that Mayor Goodwin just got to get up there and just pat herself on the back and say all of these things that have been great that she's done and blah 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 blah. And one of her first things that she said was, "I created this. I was the one that started the State of the City address because we need to hold ourselves accountable in city government." And I thought, how is it holding yourself accountable when you're the only one allowed to talk? No one can ask you a question that you will answer. How is that accountable? You get to put your spin on everything and highlight the positive things that you feel like that
and there's never any
and
problems.
there's no problems at all.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, we've got two of the top brass still on administrative leave. Mm-hmm. Like they're still being paid their regular salaries.
Oh,
for months and months.
I've got some information about that.
Oh, please share.
Would you believe that Chief Hunt, on July 1st, 2020, his salary was $102,000 a year. He had a pay raise on 9/26/21, 3/13/22, and July the 1st, 2022.
Wow.
And his salary went up a whopping $17,999.16 in 2 years.
So that's what he's making now on administrative leave.
But the interim chief is only making $100,000.
You know what? Speaking of the interim chief, I called him today. Actually, I called him yesterday.
He's a nice man.
He is a very nice man. And I just wanted to ask him about that specifically, about the costs adding up of this administrative leave. And, he directed me to HR, and I'm pretty sure I won't get the information there. But thank you for bringing that, because now he's like, they're just making their regular salary.
Most people don't know this. In fact, the police force did not know this information until Chief Hunt was
Well, I did
removed.
ask Interim Chief Dempsey if he was aware of what Tyke was making when he was put on administrative leave, and is that what he is making? He was very very kind and just respectful, and he didn't want to get into that, but he's like, I'm not really sure. But I did ask him, I said, can I ask you a question? And he said, sure. And I said, do you want to be the chief of police of Charleston, West Virginia? And he said, yes, ma'am. I absolutely do. And then so I'm like, I just want to, I want to scream and say, Mayor, why? Like, I don't understand this.
Well, aren't there about over 20 names on the list?
26 or 27.
And
27 names.
And those have been kept secret. Am I correct?
That's correct.
Well, I did talk to a judge today about that very issue, about the fact that there are 26 or 27 names on this list to be chosen, and it's a secret list. Nobody here has seen it. Is that right?
I do
Well,
now.
it was FOIA'd, and they refused to give the names.
Okay. Well, this judge said that is illegal, and I think if we took that case to court, they would have to reveal that.
Huh. Well, we do have an in-house lawyer.
Well, he would be the one to go to.
Yeah, we'll have to reach out to some people that we know, because you know what? At some point, we're just gonna have to take these people to court.
Right.
I mean, that's the only way you get results these days.
The judge is saying that.
Yeah, I mean, it's not. You can't keep this information. I don't understand why that's not FOIA-able. How they think they can get away with it. I mean, Kevin Baker's an attorney. He should know better than that.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, they're slow playing it for a reason. And
what do you think?
We don't know.
I want to know.
And that's the thing. Well, I mean, this is just pure conjecture from me, but I wonder if it would have to do potentially with, former Chief Hunt's, potential retirement or some kind.
Right. The longer you stretch
medical
that
leave,
out, right.
or and I think it has more to do with.
So,
with
if
Hunt.
let me ask you this. So, if they name, so right now they have an interim chief, but if they name a replacement, then that means that Tyke Hunt. Then I don't understand the connection.
He should be going back to regular.
He would go back to whatever his previous rank was.
Yes.
Until he's dismissed for whatever reason.
Gotcha.
But
what were you going to say, Beth?
They have not finished, I don't think, the investigation.
No,
That's why he is still on administrative leave.
And that leads me to my next strange thing, was that I got a call this morning from Lieutenant Bennett, who is the Professional Standards Division Commander. And he called me. I was in school. I had to call him back after school. But he wants to talk to me, or wanted to talk to me, regarding Chelsea McCoy.
That was our second guest who had been harassed by the police chief.
She was the second
sexually harassed. I should
second
say.
guest that came on. We were the first to publicly air her name, right, and her identity. I just thought it was odd, and I asked him. He's like, I'm trying to, put together a timeline, and I want to know, like, when did you know Chelsea McCoy's name? When did you hear her name? When were you first? When did you first know of her? And then when did you first meet her? And I was like, what? I said, I'm not sure why that's relevant. Why is this relevant to this investigation? I wasn't there when, this occurred between.
He's asking you this?
Yes.
He
said, I said, why? And he said, well, you're the podcast that, first identified Chelsea McCoy. And
but
I'm
the
like,
thing is,
so?
Another media had the information.
Well, and that's what I said. I said,
both individuals, and their legal department would not let them share it until it was publicly
Well, I said,
mentioned.
and I said that, Beth. I said, have you called Kenny Bass? And he was like, no. And I'm like, well, Kenny probably knew it before I did. And then he said, it was just a weird conversation. And finally, I had to say, you know what? I just don't have anything to offer you at this point.
Why is he asking this? 3 months after the investigation started?
Thank you. I was kind of
4 months after the investigation started.
I was perplexed by it. I was.
What have they been
Ron,
doing
what do
for
you
the-
think? Do you think that's kind of weird that a police department would call? I'm not a journalist, but
Well,
Adam likes to call me
anybody
that.
that's not in
You're a
city
journalist.
government, you're talking to somebody who has been reporting on this, but we're
But
not.
what does it matter when I first knew her name?
No,
or when I
doesn't
first
matter.
knew her identity. Like, I don't understand how that
No,
is
I mean, is he
applicable.
looking for an internal leak? But what would that matter if there was one?
You got me.
Do your job, investigate, come to a conclusion.
Yeah, why? I don't understand. Why are you asking me?
It's
Adam's
like
got a
the
smirk.
Watergate. It's like the Watergate committee coming up to the Washington Post and asking them, well, when did you first know that Nixon was a crook?
Right.
It's like, well, what does that have to do with the investigation?
For real. I mean,
it could be a lot of things that we don't know.
It could be.
It could be part of the investigation. Maybe he's trying to throw somebody else off. Maybe he asked you that thinking, oh, well, Ashley will go on the podcast for sure and talk about that. And then, he's using you to get some kind of other information out there. I mean, it could be.
Maybe he's trying to
anything.
get
He's
you
a professional detectives we're talking about.
Well, he could be trying to get you to present something that maybe they didn't already know on this podcast.
I don't know.
I mean, if they can't find it on their own, we can't help them.
Yeah, I'm so confused. I just thought it best not to, because I wasn't sure exactly of dates, and I just thought it best.
Tell them to go back and look at the podcast list. You can go back to all of our podcasts, go back to August, and you'll see when we found out.
What'd you say, Lisa? Get up here on the mic.
I would just say you need to go back, listen to the podcast, then that's all the information we have for you.
Go back to August 16th or whatever.
Yeah, I mean,
it
he
was.
did know the date of the podcast, but I'm like, beyond that, I don't.
We didn't start
know.
talking about it until the week before that.
Yeah.
But it doesn't surprise me that he came to you because you won't call yourself a journalist, but you literally are the only journalist out there,
Yeah.
uncovering these kind of stories and aren't afraid to talk about it.
Right.
I mean, and he had to know that Kenny had the story because Kenny had been digging and asking questions for a long time.
Kenny had the story, and the legal department refused to let him air it. And I don't think that he did air it eventually.
He aired it after we had Chelsea
Right.
McCoy
Exactly.
on our show.
Exactly.
And then all bets were off. So they were not going to be liable for anything because it was already news.
Well, can we go back to Dempsey? Because we were talking about
Yes, please.
intern Dempsey. Mm-hmm. And, during the previous city council meeting at the state of the city address, I mean, that came up. There were lots of issues that came up with public safety, but, two city council members during their remark portion both said that they thought the CPD was doing a great job, under Deputy Chief Dempsey. Or interim Chief Dempsey, and one of which was Councilmember Bruce King.
Yeah,
he said that he thought
he'd be happy with him.
Yeah, and I'm like, well, did you tell that to the mayor, or why don't you write a resolution? You can write a resolution or write a bill that says, Charleston City Council thinks that deputy or interim chief
maybe do an editorial,
and say, we don't need any of these 27 names. We're going to go with Dempsey. And there's a myriad of things, that could be done other than nothing, which is apparently,
I guess that's what the majority of council's happy doing is just nothing.
What's interesting is I think only 8 of the applicants are from internally. The rest of them are from out of state.
Okay, why do we get to know that, but we don't get to know the names?
You know that?
That's weird. Yeah, how do you know that?
Was that in the story?
But the thing is this:
that's been out there for several days anyway.
But how can you? I guess anyone can come in and pick up where someone left off. However, when you're dealing, it's not like, let's say, an engineer who has an engineer is an engineer is an engineer. You have different projects, but your formulas are the same, the math's the same,
right,
etc.
Right.
But when you come from a community into Charleston, West Virginia, if you don't blend in well with the residents there's
a learning curve, man.
A huge learning curve. Let's say if you came from New York City. Let's say you come from the Midwest.
That's a good point.
What if you come from down south? To learn all the hills and the valleys and the roads and all of the
That's 100% a good point.
That would take a year at minimum to even start to get
Not
a grasp
to mention,
on that.
like when you're ingrained in a system, like I would imagine that interim chief Dempsey is, like you have a good pulse on
the community leaders.
The community, who the players
Exactly.
are, who the criminals are. You've already got your thumb on that pulse.
What the issues are that have to be dealt with.
Yeah. I just don't even know why we're entertaining.
And I'm not saying an outside person couldn't be good, but I just think that it would be a much harder learning curve and fit.
Being from not Charleston, it takes a hot minute to figure out the dynamics socially that are going on. I mean, people still talk about, they lived in so-and-so's their house. Like the houses are family names. Like it's insane to me. I've never lived anywhere like this, but it does. Yeah. And it's wonderful, but it takes a hot minute.
Yeah, that's a good point. I really wouldn't even thought about that.
And then, another point that I had to that, after the meeting, as we were, discussing, the police chief, and that was, being brought up, was that, the mayor's state of the city address, she outlined 4, ideas that she wants to do. I won't say new ideas because
we've heard them.
Rehash those. But one of the 4 ideas was a new public safety building. And so are we going to have an outside hire, come in and, introduce and or go over what he thinks the department is going to need after we're coming into a situation where we're going to have a new public safety building potentially, or do you want someone that knows what was wrong with the old public safety building and knows what the force needs? So whoever the new chief is, I think that he or she would certainly have, a big step up in terms of background as to what the department would need.
Yeah.
That lends itself to the fact that I am really dismayed that the city let the Caskey building go. And supposedly, the mayor was talking about
That's
a
the old
new
Sears
national
building.
company breaking ground with a $65 million project like it was a new business. No, it's TC Energy who's moving from across the river. They're going to tear down that building and rebuild it. Now, we could have taken that building and we could have actually put the new fire station headquarters all on that one lot. It would have been within 2 blocks of City Hall, right in the center of town, right near the Civic Center, highly visible, and a proud location for those folks to be there, and they could have been co-located right there.
Yeah, but Beth, we're making investments in the city. If I heard investments in the city once, I heard it
25
times. Thank you.
She even told us how many.
And what does that mean to you, Elisa?
That sounds like a lot of finance, which equals taxpayer dollars, which equals loans, which equals a lot of debt.
Yeah.
Well, if we had bought that property it would have been a fraction of what we'll spend for a new build.
Right. Well, just like
And-
if we had bought them all.
And where are we going to build that? I mean, what flat
Right.
land is available?
Well,
to,
we
to
can't
put
even
that
build
downtown?
a police. We can't even build a standalone police department. I mean, where are we going to put that? Do we have a location on that, Adam?
No.
Has anything come from the feasibility study?
No.
Do we know?
I mean, that's one of the, that was one of my main criticisms of the
speech.
Itself
No details.
Was that, there were these 4 ideas, and they're big ideas, and, I think that they would be great to do. I don't think anyone, by themselves would be.
But again, they're
opposed to
announcements.
that.
They're empty announcements. Like
But
that's
as far as the public safety building, the last that I know, and Beth could speak to that if I was wrong, is council got an update in the summer of 2022.
Hold on, Beth's leaving.
I'm sorry, I have.
She's
to
got to go
leave.
to book club.
I have a GW High School class of 72 book club Zoom meeting I have to go to.
Hey, Beth, we love you.
Yeah.
I love you guys
Keep up
too,
the good
but I
work.
love my GW alum.
I know
Well,
you
there you
do.
go. Well, you graduated a good year because that was when Alice Cooper's School's Out.
Lisa
came
Payne's going to
out.
get on the mic now. Okay, Adam, go ahead.
Okay, so
finish what you're saying.
back to the public safety building. The council's allocated more than $1 million in terms of the feasibility study.
Right.
And the last update, at least that I know of, at least that went out to council as a whole,
Mm-hmm.
was back in July of 2022. And hasn't, as far as I know,
Hasn't
been
been talked about or
yeah,
updated
or
since. Mm-hmm.
touched since. So that's a year and a
another-
half now.
And another thing that's never touched on and should be updated once a year is committee reports. There are committees that are not meeting.
Yeah.
Why are we not hearing committee reports?
Oh, and these are, and it's in
ever?
the city, it's in the code, it's in the bylaws that
Absolutely.
these are standing committees that need to meet
So what
regularly.
And they should at least report at the state of the city. I mean, here's
So what
what we
can-
did
Public
for
safety
the year.
committee is one
Hello?
of those should be meeting regularly committees.
Okay, so let me ask you this. Can a citizen call on his or her council ward rep to correct these things? Can we say, we want you to put forth a resolution that demands that the other resolutions and the codes be met? Like, we want committee meetings to happen. We want committee updates. Like,
If the city government won't provide those things that are mandated, then you can go to court and force them to do it.
And that's where it is.
And I
Here
don't
we are
mean,
at court.
I
That's
don't
where
mean
we
city
are.
court either.
Well, I could ask my council person because that's Beth.
yeah,
Beth
she
would be
left.
all over it.
Yeah, I think she would. But I mean, that's just another idea, to maybe try to get some action. Like, how do you
Maybe.
demand you've set aside $1 million for a feasibility study, and that's all we keep hearing is just words. Like, how do you demand action or updates on all of these announcements? How do you even verify that this stuff is happening?
Right.
Well, in some ways, you can't. I mean, you can ask your council person to do that, but if he or she doesn't,
Yeah.
then you're kind of stuck. But I think we have quite a few council members that forget their number one action, the number one thing that they can do to
Yeah.
move the government forward is to write resolutions, is to write bills
Yeah.
and make people vote on them.
Mm-hmm.
And we also should have some public speaking about that at the beginning of the meeting. Like,
Yeah.
we need a committee report. Like, that's
Right.
here's the code.
Yeah.
And
We know that these committees are not
expect-
mean, and we
Yeah.
expect action.
We
we expect you to
expect
work.
to
Are we turning into Calhoun County and Lincoln County?
I mean, just do your job.
Yeah, we're getting close to a break.
Okay.
So I do want to make sure we thank our sponsors like Chris Walters at Integrity Insurance. Of course, Chris is going to be running for County Commission.
Yep.
Integrity Insurance, 16 Capitol Street for auto, home, life, business, workers' comp, health, pet insurance. Also, Eggplant on Bridge Road. What do we know about Eggplant?
Oh, nothing. Just that it's anything but ordinary, like the owner over
Like
there,
the owner
Lisa
who's
Payne.
sitting to my left at eggplantshop.com.
I ordered makeup towels.
All right.
Makeup remover.
And she's got my Jack Black. She's got my Jack Black shaving cream.
You
What
all
about-
better get to Eggplant. You guys went up there for Christmas looking for those miracle makeup remover towels, and now they are in stock.
Well, they're not in stock. They're
Okay,
ordered.
okay, they're
So
ordered. Sorry.
Give me
But my shaving cream is there.
No, guilty as
That's
charged.
it.
I went up to Eggplant to get one of the makeup towels.
So T
They're
working
gone.
on it.
also T Graphics on the west side, tgraphics.com, screen printing and embroidery since 1984. Also at Jody's Mobile Services, Jody's is the place to go when you need steam cleaning, power washing for mostly commercial, industrial, but also residential for fleets and commercial buildings.
I wish Jody could clean out City Hall with that high-powered washer.
And also at Biggly Piggly Wiggly over on Spring Street.
Yeah. I love the big
we
pig.
We love going over there.
Yep. All right.
So we're going to take a break, and we'll
be back after the break. We'll talk a little bit of Board of Education. We'll wrap up some city stuff and hop into. There was some news at the Board of Education, Kanawha County. We'll be back in just a second.
The Scoop Squad Truth Pod would like to thank our sponsors. Those include Chris Walters at Integrity Insurance, featuring auto, home, life, business, workers' compensation, and pet insurance. Pet insurance, you say? That's health insurance for your dogs or cats that covers special foods, illnesses, surgeries, and medication. They're on 16 Capitol Street in Charleston at 346-9181, or reach them at www.iigwv.com. Also by Jody's Mobile Services, offering steam cleaning, pressure washing, fleet washing, and auto detailing. We come to you. They're at 304-437-3164. And also by Eggplant on Bridge Road. Anything but ordinary. Go to eggplantshop.com. Also by T-Graphics on the west side, 312 Buchanan Street, 345-4816. Go to tgraphics.com for screen printing and embroidery since 1984. Again at 345-4816.
And we're back. You're back with the third scoop of the Scoop Squad Truth Pod.
We're all back.
We're all back for some more controversy. Adam, what else can we talk about with the city? What else is you go in there and you take so many notes, and I love it because I can't do it because I'm streaming. So I know you've got.
It was a long speech.
It was long.
So I don't know how much time we want to devote to it.
What are your takeaways?
Well, so the overarching theme of the speech.
Oh yeah, I love that.
The mayor brought up several times. It doesn't feel different, but it is different.
I was confused. Is it different or is it not different? Is it?
Well, so it doesn't feel different, but it is different. It is different, but
okay.
It's the same thing, only different.
Doesn't she have a PR background?
That was so confusing. I didn't understand that theme.
As just my analysis of that is that, the more that someone has to talk about something, the less certain it is. So, and I mean, I'm not talking about just politics, but I mean, that's sales and job interviews.
The aquatic center.
It doesn't feel different, folks.
Methinks,
but it is different. Like the more, like if she said it 100 times, then we would just begin to feel it. Is that what the thing is?
1984. Yeah, you'll kind of get the theme of how this kind of works.
And then there were the outline of the four, big projects that she wants the city to look at. But I mean, the city is already looking at all these, and has for several years. So I don't really know coming out of that speech, what is different in 2024 than was in 2019 or 2022. These kind of years where a lot of these projects were either discussed or started. And just quickly, so we can outline what they are. We have the Capitol Sports Center, then the Municipal Auditorium,
Fire department,
Public Safety Building, and then which would be police,
right?
And then a new headquarters for the fire department and EMS services.
Yes,
but all of those have been in the works and or discussed.
Yeah.
I can sit back and we go through the years. I mean, as far as, we're talking 2019 or 2022, for a lot of these. And
isn't she talking about a groundbreaking or a beginning of construction for the aquatic center at the mall, at the town center?
Did she say that?
Groundbreaking ceremony?
Yeah.
No, I don't think that
is
in the cards or announced, was it?
No.
Was it part of her announcement that we were going to start construction on it? I thought I heard her say that.
No, back when she announced it, she wanted groundbreaking. I think maybe they gave a date for groundbreaking, but
well, we still haven't had that.
No,
it's just like there wasn't any action. It was like, here's what we've been tired. We're talking
about.
Here's what we're going to do. It's like, no, what did you do last year in 2023?
What have you done? You're right.
Well, and one of these, I mean,
you're right.
Talk about it. Just an example because it's a personal example for me. But City Council's Facilities Committee, which is supposed to be looking at these kind of buildings, last met about the Municipal Auditorium and got a tour because I toured it back in 2019. So we were talking almost 5 years ago with no progress on the municipal auditorium. And
in 5 years.
And so what are we going to do with it? So there are all these projects that I think everyone would support in general.
Absolutely.
But, what are we going to do this year that we haven't done in previous years? And that was just lacking.
Yeah.
I think generally the
speech.
public doesn't know. And so she can just snowball everyone, oh, here's what we're going to do. When they've been talking about it for years, and the public just doesn't.
She just thinks that people aren't paying attention.
Yeah,
She
right.
can get by with the same
and people
speech
haven't been
every
paying
year.
attention until the last couple
That's
of
true.
years.
Well,
and now
and
we're
I think
all
you're right.
paying attention.
Now we're all paying attention.
I think another example of that when I want to talk about some public safety, highlights, of hers, she lauded the low crime rate and the high crime solve rate. Which, if you just hear that in a speech, I think you think, oh, well, that's good.
great.
Charleston must be a generally safer place. But, if you get behind that data and you realize, we're supposed to have 172 certified police officers and we only have 151.
Right.
And one of the reasons why, the crime rate is so low in air quotes is because we don't have enough officers to go out and investigate,
right.
all the crimes or, the crime, the solve rate is so high is because they're picking the most obvious, ones that need to be, every call is urgent, you know what I mean? But they're picking the ones that
are easily solved.
Easily solved.
The high profile.
We're going to get these people, off the street. And, and I think just the numbers there are real obvious. So, if we are so much safer, then why are we paying so much overtime, to the police?
Right.
Well, and I always remember this. I learned in my master's degree, figures lie and liars figure. You can take any figure and you can spin it to be whatever you want. So we can't just listen to the sound bites anymore. And I think the population is starting to understand that. This isn't a soundbite culture anymore. We want to know the facts.
And, the craziness doesn't stop at the city limits. I guess even the county is kind of delving into a little bit of craziness with this last board meeting. Was that
Kanawha County Schools?
Yeah.
Yeah. So Ryan White, stepped down because he is going to run for Circuit Judge, Adam?
Yeah. Isn't it?
Ryan White has a seat on the Kanawha County School Board. He resigned that seat to run for Circuit Judge.
In December. The board then took applications to replace Ryan White. I believe through the 19th. There was a hard date on that.
Yes.
And then
there were a lot of applications submitted. I know several people that submitted applications that contacted me and said, I'm turning in my application. And I got some confirmation today that
17th.
That other people had turned in applications. Well, guess who?
Well, they met on the 18th.
Okay.
Because I was at that board meeting. And they went into executive session, which is completely appropriate because you're talking about people and their resumes and yada, yada, yada. And we came back in after about a half an hour, and they had narrowed it down to 5 applicants at that point.
Okay.
And then they said they were going to have this meeting, apparently last night, to make the decision.
And that was on the 23rd? Right.
Yes.
And so what was the decision, Elisa? Who did the Kanawha County School Board vote to take Ryan White's place on the board?
Well, shockingly, I guess the best candidate was Ryan White's wife.
What?
Like, how does that work?
Wait.
What kind of background does she have? And
Wait, so the school board voted to bring Ryan White's wife to fill Ryan White's vacated seat on the board?
Yeah. In a
nutshell?
In a nutshell. In so many words, like right out there. Yeah.
What? That to me, that is just, I'm sorry, I'm going to use the word gross. That's gross.
Well, and it's so small town. I mean,
What in the
that's
world?
Like something you see, in some real rural area, some backward area that you would.
And not that, I'm sure she's got qualifications. I'm sure that she's, what are her
more than all the rest
qualifications?
of them?
At the end of the day, even if she's just a parent,
I
I think a parent on the board at this point, because I've been speaking, there's some not good things going on with our children in the schools. I think a parent representative is an amazing thing. But literally, is that the only parent in Kanawha County Schools?
No, because I know a parent that applied. Nope, I know several parents of Kanawha County school students that applied.
Completely. And I will say, you had mentioned that Tracy White, unrelated, did not vote for this because she felt it was nepotism as well.
So she voted no?
She did vote no.
So, but everybody else voted for it?
Well, that's 3 other people.
Okay. So Jim Crawford voted for? Okay.
But it appears.
Becky Jordan.
Becky Jordan.
Okay.
Rick Cavender.
And Rick Cavender.
Jim Crawford's my old gym teacher, by the way. and I've been out of school almost 50 years, so just let that sink in.
So Adam, you and I were talking about this, and you brought up a really good point. What is, I mean, there's so many problems with this, aside from just how it looks. It looks bad, but it is bad.
No, I mean, it looks bad because
it is bad.
It is bad. So, I mean, I'll just speak as a parent.
Yeah.
I want my board members to be active in the community and, go to the meetings.
Yeah.
I know they're boring.
Yeah.
But I want them to go and I, want them to be informed and make these votes. And Ryan's already said that, he's not running again so he can go campaign.
Yeah.
Which is fine. But now with his wife as that voting member, is basically she going to be voting for him via proxy?
By proxy.
While he is going out and campaigning. So somehow we're going to even get less informed votes.
Right.
Because Ryan's out there campaigning and then he just has his wife go vote.
Yeah.
However,
and then she could
wanted.
potentially already have the seat and then be able to run again. So her name recognition is already there.
Right. She already has a seat, even though she wasn't elected
even though she
by
wasn't
the people,
elected by the people. It gives her the advantage. Yeah, it gives her the advantage.
Do you know if that seat is up? I think they're staggered seats as far as every 2 years when they're elected.
They will have to vote that seat this year. Because it is an elected position.
Okay, so that position, so
that's what I understand.
Kate White,
she will start,
would have to run.
Mm-hmm. So after the 27th, Saturday, we'll know.
That's crazy.
That's the deadline for all the candidates to file. So we should have an idea of
how
it's
do you
running.
say that that's not nepotism? How is that not nepotism?
Well, obviously it is. They just don't care. They're going to get away with it.
It's like that is like
now they're going to think everyone doesn't. Either this year or 2 years from now.
That is a double middle finger.
This is the first time I've seen Ashley use a double middle finger.
That's what it is. It's
it's right in your face.
And, I feel bad that Beth Kern left because I would love to have asked Beth this question because she's it's no secret. I think she'd say that she's far more liberal.
Yes,
than
she
I
is.
am.
Yeah.
But you have Ryan White's dad and Kate's father-in-law, who's Stephen White, who's former state Democratic Party chair.
Yeah.
So they've gone ahead and appointed this rich white woman. Let's just be honest.
Let's just
we've appointed this rich white woman
is.
from the east end of Charleston. To have this position and looked over, just loads of minority candidates that probably have far better credentials.
Loads of women of color.
How do you accept that, as a Democrat? And or, I'd be really interested to hear what, groups like Our Children, Our Future.
Sure.
Do we have a list of those other candidates?
Or who was the group at the Capitol today?
Fairness, West Virginia.
Fairness, West Virginia. I would love to know what Fairness, West Virginia has to say about that.
What does Fairness, West Virginia? Like, what do these liberal groups have to say that, the good old boy system?
Yeah.
Do you have a list of those
help them out and, just left these other groups to the curb?
Do you have a list of those other candidates that didn't get chosen? Or we should find those out.
I think that's foiable, and I'm going to totally foil that.
I do know that
it's an elected position.
Hollis Lewis's wife was an applicant, and Hollis Lewis is the new House of Delegates member that was appointed to replace.
Right, he was a former magistrate. If I'm not mistaken.
And he replaced Doug Scaff.
Right, but did they publish that list, or they just said, "Oh, here's the list. We have a list, and here's the one we chose"?
No, they didn't. We didn't. I mean, being there at the board meeting the night that they narrowed it down, there was not a mention of anybody.
Okay. And her background is, and I just know this from my friends sharing, her qualifications on Facebook, is that she's at West Virginia State, and she's either an administrator or a professor, and you got to think her background is just going to be, way better.
I mean, I do have information that 2 of the women of color that were well overqualified, not to knock, the work of Kate White, but she doesn't have an education background. But, apparently they looked over someone who was the chair of the education department, who was a teacher and sits on countless educational boards, has so many other qualifications that cannot even be listed, and they passed her up to go with Kate, Ryan White's wife.
Well, I used to make the joke with Ryan, oh, thanks, Daddy. But I guess with this one, we have to be like, thanks, Daddy-in-law.
Yeah, that's weird. But
and you can look down on me and you can say, well, Adam, those jokes aren't inappropriate. But it's far more inappropriate to be appointed to a position that you have no business being on.
Yeah.
And completely overlooking far more qualified
candidates.
Mm-hmm. And I would love for Kate to go back to Piedmont. Yeah. I'd send Kate back to Piedmont where she is a PTO president.
Right.
And tell all those non-white students, hey, here I am.
Interesting.
And it's just for a short amount of time,
Mic
too.
drop.
It's like, what are they gaining here? Like, you're getting ready to get a shitstorm.
That just made you look really bad. You just lost a bunch of credibility points with the public.
And they
all
have
of y'all that voted for it.
Problems in the schools. I mean, they're so like. Let's just not even talk about all the different contractor groups they're having to bring in now because they can't get people to teach speech and different things of that nature. Mm-hmm. It's a disaster. Yeah. They need to have someone who could come in and give them some guidance to settle that straighten
That's
it
right.
up.
Yeah, and they could have. They had the opportunity, and they chose to pass that up. So.
Well, we got a few minutes left, so...
I still have some funny anecdotes.
Oh, yeah.
You guys might think it's funny.
Come on, Adam.
Well, we're talking about Hollis Lewis. And I didn't want to bring this up at first because, it was during the speech...
I love you're getting talky.
He did. The mayor got several rounds of applause for different applause lines.
Yeah.
And Ashley, I don't know if you noticed this because you're busy, filming.
You're
doing the live stream.
Right.
So definitely go to the, our Facebook page.
Yeah, and watch it.
If you can't make the meeting, don't watch the cities because audio is terrible.
No.
Go to Ashley because you're actually going to get some
the streaming,
good direction there. So one of the biggest applause lines was raises for the city employees.
Yeah.
Which, since the room was filled with city employees.
Yeah. Sure.
How did that
if
happen?
you weren't a protester for Gaza, you were a city employee.
And they never come to any other meetings.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And so then literally, and this I mean this literally, every other applause line was started. The applause was started by Hollis Lewis. He was there as a public speaker. He spoke on behalf of his employer. It's a nonprofit, First Choice Services. But I noticed this because there were so many protesters there, and there were so many city employees there that I had to stand in the back.
Yeah, there was no room,
and so I couldn't see his face. Yeah, I couldn't see his face. Because if you watch the first, let's say 1/3 to half, nobody was applauding anything, and then the mayor mentioned employee pay raises, and then so everybody applauded, and then after that, literally just this one random guy just starts applauding, and I looked over the first time, I was like, oh, okay, maybe that's that guy's issue. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know, because like the back of his head is all I saw. And then like after the third time, like I walked over just to see who that was, and I was like. Honest to goodness, it was Hollis Lewis. I sat there walking out of the meeting. I was like, was he a plant? Was he planted there to, but then I started, now I'm sitting there thinking about like, well, probably not because, if his wife didn't get that Board of Education position and, Cavender and White are pretty tight with.
No, that's interesting. I did
so
not
he probably
even notice
wasn't
that.
planted, but I'd like to ask him now.
I would like to know.
Why would, so you applauded all that stuff during the State of the City address.
Right, why?
Now it seems like the Goodwin, Salango, White, Cavender faction turned their back on your wife. Would you like to take back literally every single starting applause that you did?
Wow. I love us. I love that.
Well, there were people there that were. I mean, they had the first two rows reserved. I mean, there were people, in my opinion.
Oh, she did that on purpose.
Strong-armed to be there. Yeah. In one way, shape, or another. To
Lance Wheeler was there, and he left. He skedaddled after the first.
Well, TC Energy was there.
Yeah.
And ZMM.
Yeah.
Architects.
She packed
Adam
the house
Crayson
full of supporters.
That's exactly. And to be fair, Hollis is a Democrat.
Yeah, he is.
So she said TC
He's
Energy
a snappy
was across
dresser,
the river.
too. I'm just throwing that in there.
Did she mean across the Kanawha River somewhere?
Yeah, and they're the ones, that's the group that Beth was talking about. They're the ones that got the former
I was trying to get a handle on where they were in the city currently.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so they're literally moving just across the river, and we're going to tear the Caskey building down, and I think Beth is right. That could have easily been, quick turnaround on a new public safety building right there.
I just think the bottom line is she doesn't want to do any of these things. They're just not going to happen.
Yep.
So,
agree.
That's just my point. So anyway, okay, real quick.
Mark this episode down so we can look at it, re-listen to it next year.
Yeah. What episode number is this, Brian? What episode number is this?
76.
80. No, we're past 76.
Yeah,
It's like in the 80s. Hey, Elisa, give us the update on the bill that you spoke for real quick in the House today.
4654.
House Bill 4656 or 54?
Yeah, I think it's 54. It was so we had a public hearing today. It did go to judiciary. Judiciary did have a public hearing. There were a lot of speakers.
4654. You're right. Mm-hmm.
There was it was 1 hour, and every speaker had a minute 30. So I happily had several different versions of my speech ready to go.
Yeah.
But
good for you.
There
You're
was about
prepared.
50. It was about 50-50, you know.
I was going to say, was the support one-sided, or was there like even
No,
number for and against?
It was predictable.
Yeah.
I will say, you know, everyone with a mask spoke against.
Right. Yeah.
I will say there was a lot of ministers that spoke for.
Mm-hmm.
There was a gentleman that has a library. Their county runs a library, and they run it pretty strict. And he was against it.
Mm-hmm.
But I was like, dude, if everyone ran their libraries like you did,
Right.
we wouldn't have
this problem.
But they don't.
Right.
I noticed there was a lot of the associations
Mm-hmm.
represented there that are non-elected.
Yeah.
So there's, you know, again, speaking. I mean, honestly, you brought up Andrew from Fairness, West Virginia. Literally, I don't even know if he was at the right venue because his speech was so non-specific to what the bill was about. I was like, dude, like maybe you're going to too many public hearings.
He didn't know which
I
one
think
he was
you grabbed
at.
the wrong speech. Like,
Yeah.
But
That's
there was
funny.
some very graphic. I read a very graphic book excerpt, and I started it because I felt led to do that. I wanted.
Yeah, because you were the first speaker. You set the tone for. I feel like you were able to shoot down any argument that was coming.
Yeah, I wanted to
after
catch
you,
him before,
and you did.
Because for me, it's obscene. It was pornography. You can't put a spin on that.
No.
This isn't a middle school for 12-year-olds. You say middle school. Well, they're middle schoolers. They're 12.
Yeah.
They're 13, and they're 14 years old. That's ridiculous.
And something that you said, in a nutshell, you said, gosh, what was it? We're not banning books. This
is not book
Give
banning.
me your line.
And I was like, you can write the books, you can publish the books, you can print the books, you can put the books, sell the books, you can put the books in the public libraries and restricted access. This is not book banning. This is not book burning. This is protecting our children.
Yeah. And the
that's how we
parents should
feel.
have to opt in instead of opting out.
Yeah, right now the system's rigged, so no one lets you know what's going on. The parents find out accidentally. Instead, all that information should be presented to the parent, and then they can opt out. Now it's like, well, then you decide. They want you should be able to opt in instead of opt out. So,
in other words, you should get a permission slip saying, yes, my child is allowed to read this material, instead of having to sign a permission slip that says, no, my child is not allowed to.
Right.
Okay.
You should be able to opt in.
Yeah.
A lot of the speakers
10 seconds.
kind of got off track. Mm-hmm. They were more concerned about how much it was going to cost to legislate this, how hard it was going to be on the librarians, blah, blah, blah. You know what I say? Screw that.
Yeah.
This is about the kids. You're adults.
Yep.
Deal with it.
Fix it. That's what we're asking you to do. Do your job. Fix it. All right. That's going to do it for episode whatever we're on, 80-something.
87.
I love it.
I looked it up.
I love you guys. This was fun. It's always fun.
fun.
It's a lot of
Thanks
fun.
for having me.
Thanks, Adam.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks
Thank our
for having me.
sponsors.
Yeah. Thanks to our sponsors. And we will talk at you guys again. We're going to be here again next week. Sorry. All right.
Not
bye.
sorry.
Bye.
If you would like to tie your business with this popular podcast, you can contact me, Ron Hughes, to advertise at ron.hughes, ron.hughes, at wvradio.com, or you could call me at 304-342-8131. The Scoop Squad Truth Pod would like to thank our sponsors. Those include Chris Walters at Integrity Insurance, featuring auto, home, life, business, workers' compensation, and pet insurance. Pet insurance, you say? That's health insurance for your dogs or cats that covers special foods, illnesses, surgeries, and medication. They're on 16 Capitol Street in Charleston at 346-9181, or reach them at www.iigwv.com. Also by Jody's Mobile Services, offering steam cleaning, pressure washing, fleet washing, and auto detailing. We come to you. They're at 304-437-3164. And also by Eggplant on Bridge Road. Anything but ordinary. Go to eggplantshop.com. Also by T-Graphics on the west side, 312 Buchanan Street, 345-4816. Go to tgraphics.com for screen printing and embroidery since 1984. Again at 345-4816. Rebroadcast, retransmission, or transcription is not permissible without the expressed approval of Scoop Squad Truth Pod. Copyright 2024.